secularwoman.org. It's been a truly pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a great day and a great week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. And I want to just take this opportunity to remind everyone that if you're just joining us, you are watching the 3rd Annual International Day of Protest Against Hereditary Religion. I'm Ryan Burkhart from Hammer the Gods, and we've got an interesting panel on right now. We just have a new guest joining us. I think Lee Lemon will probably be back momentarily. Currently, we're discussing with Shira, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Shira Akers, though always wonderful, from weareatheism.com. I'm sorry?
You need more caffeine.
I think I'm kind of like overdosing on caffeine. I'm starting to see stars.
No such thing. Seeing demons.
It is. Jesus, I'm infected by Jesus juice or something. But also we have on the panel currently Lee Lemon, video blogger, all-around cool person. Thank you very much for hanging out with us and helping out with the show, Lee. And we'd like to welcome the new guest for the moment, Mr. Robert Robertson of, I'm sorry, I'm having a bit trouble hearing, worldcultwatch.org. Is that correct, Robert? And you may be muted if you hover over your image there, and up at the top you'll see a little microphone icon with be red with a slash over it. Just give that a click. There you go. Did I get you correct?
Yes, you did.
Excellent. And now that you're in, just please tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do at worldcultwatch.org.
Worldcultwatch.org it's my blog site where I expose abusive religions, and the more abusive religions I expose, the more I find. So I guess I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. My personal background is Scientology, and that's where I got into the fight against cults. I joined as an adult, so there was no childhood indoctrination on my part, but I saw a lot of it. My childhood indoctrination was in the Lutheran Church, and it wasn't so bad in the part of the Lutheran Church that I was in, which was the American Synod. It wasn't bad. However, when I was in the 6th grade, I was sent to a Lutheran school, which was Missouri Synod, and they took spare the rod, spoil the child to a higher degree. So I've always been quasi non-religious, except for my 8-year stint in Scientology. I now call myself a spiritual humanist, which means I don't care what religion you belong to, as long as it doesn't injure children or subjugate women or propose murder. My personal belief is that whatever religion you belong to, if we don't start taking care of our brothers and sisters here on this planet and our Mother Earth, we're not going to make it to Armageddon.
And it came to mind, I wonder, in conversations like this, I wasn't sure if it was intentional or an oversight. You didn't mention things like marriage equality and LGBT equality. Is that something also included in your position, or where's your stance on that?
Oh, yes. I have friends that are gay, and a cousin that I care about a lot, who spent a good deal of their lives in abject misery, some of them to the point of suicide, because they were not accepted by anyone. I grew up in a time where you didn't talk about homosexuality at all. And people who were gay were just, they were automatically outcast. And because, see, like I was born in '52, and back then it was any kind of quote unsocial behavior unquote was taken as horrible, because there was a large Christian population.
And can I ask you about your time with Scientology? How long were you with Scientology, and what was your experiences with that?
And how did you get into it? That's what I'm also curious about. Did you leave religion? Because you said you were quasi-religious, and then you got into Scientology, or was there like a big gap between that, or just, I'm pretty curious about that too.
Yeah, good question.
Oh yeah, I got into Scientology in my late 30s, and I was looking for a job, and I saw an ad for a bookseller, and I found out it was Dianetics, and I said, well, I could probably do that, and I ended up being a really good bookseller. And I read through the Dianetics book, and at the time, there was some stuff that made some sense to me. Like, I really do want a world without war. You know, that would be like really great. You know, and at the time, before I did a lot of homework, I found out that, you know, man's warlike behavior was caused by, you know, his past upsets with whatever, you know, and so I became good at that, and I went on staff, and I ended up being the executive director of the Las Vegas organization. So yeah, I was in for almost 8 years, and they tried some heavy brainwashing techniques on me towards the end, and it backfired, and I left.
Can you describe some of what you refer to as brainwashing techniques? Can you describe some of those techniques?
In their account called auditing, I don't know if you've ever heard of the E-meter. What they use, you hold onto the cans, and they have a dial that they watch, and it's supposed to indicate areas of pain or upset. When they do security checking auditing, it's a lot different. You go on the cans, and they shout things at you and accuse you of doing stuff or of hating upper management, or, you know, whatever, just to see if it reads. Well, if you get yelled at, if you've ever been on a lie detector, you'll notice that the lie detector guy has a calm, even voice the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get yelled at, the needle's going to jump anyway.
Yeah.
So
does this E-meter actually, you know,
actually, can I say something about this?
Yeah, does it
E-meter
measure
thing?
anything?
Yeah, it does. I actually know a lot about this because I did some science. My friends and I, we were at the American Atheist Convention in Austin, and we were having a great time, and we were like, hey, let's go to the Church of Scientology there, a bunch of us atheists. Ooh, that'll be exciting. So we did a little field trip, and I took my daughter with me, by the way. So she was like, the first thing she said when she walked in was, this is boring, let's go. And all these people were like looking at us, so we were already standing out. but they wanted to show us how awesome their religion is, and they had those cans, and we all were like, oh yeah, let's all do our reading. Let's see what's wrong with all of us. And so one of our friends went up, and then they came back, and they were like, okay, so apparently I have some problems with my mom, according to the cans. And we were like, okay, whatever. Well, one of my friends was like, you know what, I'm going to be a little more scientific about this. And he goes over, and he holds the cans, and he grips it and lets it go. Grips it, lets it go. Grips it, lets it go. The whole time he's being interviewed. That's all he does is grip, grip, grip. And he said he could see the lines going up every time he gripped. And then they would make assumptions about what's going on in his life based on those lines. So all it is it's a pressure. It just tests the pressure of how you're holding the cans. So if they're yelling at you and freaking out at you and you grip it harder, that's the only reason why it'll go up and make you seem like you're guilty of something or something bad happened in your past or past life or whatever. So it's BS. It's absolute crap. All it does is test pressure.
Right. Yeah, the e-meter is basically what it is a bastardized form of lie detector based on galvanic skin response. And you're right, pressure on the cans does make it indicate. Sweating makes it indicate. Heat changes makes it indicate.
Would it be accurate to call it like a cold reading machine? That's what it sounds like a person who can do cold readings on someone where they just kind of notice that you have a response to certain things.
That's an excellent analogy. Excellent.
Okay.
And so
that's it.
I wonder.
That's it. That's God.
Yeah,
Scientology God, right?
Basically, Dianetics and Scientology auditing is light hypnosis with Freudian techniques, and it's all geared to brainwashing. It's all geared to get the next dollar.
Yeah, and the books that they have for children, we read through them. They are perfectly harmless. I would have no problem having my daughter read these books. It talks about how important science is and how important critical thinking is, and it's coloring books and stuff. They show you all the fluffy, happy stuff in the front end, you know, and it just seems like great books about science, and I know that that is a huge pull for a lot of people. They're like, oh, of course I want to teach my child to be a critical thinker. Of course science is important. But that's how they get you in, and then once you're in the door, then they start talking about the thetans and how there's some kind of cosmic video game, and like whatever other crazy stuff.
Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing, and you know what I call the hook, which is, yeah, you do want your children to be critical thinkers. However, once you're in Scientology and you signed all that out online, critical thinking is verboten. You will think the way L. Ron Hubbard tells you to think, even though he's been dead for quite a while.
Yeah, my dad.
So can I ask you, Robert, when you were sort of moving up in the Scientology organization, was there ever a point at which you came to understand, sort of, to put it in a crass way, understand the con behind it, and then were sort of charged to employ that con on other people?
Well, basically, for most of my career in Scientology, I was in Division 6, which is responsible for getting new people in. I was in charge of this Division 6. And even when I started feeling that there were some things that weren't right, I still had this hope of saving mankind. And I still do, which is why I do what I do now. Because I believe that mankind's destruction is if it happens, it's going to be because of religion.
And so I was wondering, though, you know, there must have been a point at which you understood how these e-meter things worked, and were you you understood that it was sort of fake in a sense? They weren't really reading anything about it, but were you then like charged to use these things on bringing new people in, or?
When
when was the point where you learned this was a con, and then you left the religion?
My breaking point on the e-meter was when I had my security check. It went on being screamed at for 9 hours straight, and yeah, by 3 big guys, and
that's fucking terrorist shit right there.
It is, it is, and being threatened with their gulag. It's called the RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force, and their top members, their seed members, are basically assigned to that. I thought as a regular staff member I was immune to that, and they pulled out a issue that said any staff member could be sent to the RPF, and basically the RPF, you're not in communication with any family members, any friends or anything, and you work like 9 hours a day and study for 4 hours a day.
And there's barbed wire around it.
It does have barbed wire around it, yeah. Actually slash wire.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bad place to go. So I buckled down and I played the game just to get out of the building, and then when I went back to my org, at that time I only had 3 months left on my contract, so I played the game for 3 more months and then I left.
Contracts? What do you mean by, you have these contracts then, or how does
Sign a
that work?
contract for like multiple lives.
Regular staff members sign either 2.5 or 5-year contracts. If you decide that you're totally committed to L. Ron Hubbard and his dream, you sign up for the C organization, and that's for 1 billion with a B years.
I see. Well, can I just say this is actually I was thinking that, you know, with like the divisions and stuff. I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds like the military, but this is actually an organization that's worse than the military.
It is.
I was never taken aside and yelled at for 9 hours, and even in boot camp that didn't happen. You know?
No.
Holy shit.
No.
So it's such a trip.
Yeah, boot camp was a dream compared.
I can imagine. It sounds like, yeah, shit. I mean, I was thinking, I mean, you get yelled at. Yeah, you get, 4 years max, or 4-year contracts, and nobody takes you aside and yells at you for 9 hours while you're touching cans. Like, that sounds pretty okay.
Have you already covered
well, there's lots
how
of
long
other things that they do, too. I mean, they have their little steam baths that are supposed to clean you of things. I mean, they have all different kinds of crazy torture devices, and they're absolutely nuts. People have died from this. They have websites dedicated to the deaths of many people who've been harmed by their religious practices. It's sick. It's super sick, and a lot of people don't know anything about it. In fact, someone wrote on their Facebook wall yesterday about how they were trying to talk to their friend about the importance of science and why he's an atheist. And they were like, well, then, if you're into science, aren't you just a Scientologist? Ignorance that people have about this.
You know, and that's the damn shame and a horrible thing that people do think that way. You know, instead of seeing Scientology as the evil cult that it is. I don't know personally if L. Ron Hubbard had a dream of peace or if he was just a con man from the get. I do know.
Oh, he was a con man from the get-go. I've heard about his saying if you invent a religion, you can become extraordinarily wealthy. I mean, he said that before he even did this, and all of religion is based off of his sci-fi novels he already wrote. It's so apparent that he was a con man. Like, you can't even tell me he's not.
Right. He did have some good ideas, but it was just most of it is so crap that it and there are people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to their upper levels, and people like Tom
and
Cruise,
people committing suicide because
like
they can't afford
it. There has been that too. One guy jumped in front of a train with a message in his hand. I've spent all my money on Scientology. I have nothing left. And then there are people that go through the drug rehab that get killed just because it's not medically controlled at all. Yeah. And if you take a person whose liver has been damaged by alcohol and drugs, and you give them massive doses of niacin and stick them in a steam room without any medical supervision, you're asking for tragedy. Yep. And in the last 3 years alone that I know of, 7 people have died on the purification rundown.
That's horrible.
Crazy.
It almost seems like from what little I know about Scientology, it almost seems like he created a religion like just to troll everybody, like just to be like satire. Like everyone will know this is totally fake. To get ahead in the religion, you gotta pay money to level up. Everyone will recognize this is fake, and then people did it. Like to me, it seems like a joke that went really, really wrong.
No.
Yeah.
The issue here is, how do we know that Jesus didn't do the same thing?
Well, I mean, how do we even know that Jesus was a person? That's where we gotta start. And yeah, that's the thing is with some of these people. I think with people like Muhammad, I think there was a lot of like delusional stuff, like hallucinations and things that went on. Not to excuse it or justify it or anything, but I'm just wondering if L. Ron Hubbard specifically set out to be a joke. Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
Who can't say the same thing about Abraham?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
true.
what you get down to. It's like how much of it. I think Philip Wiley said it best. He said, "I see no difference between a man who starves himself and sees God, and a man who drinks too much."
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
For me, basically, I do feel spiritual connection. Does that come from God? I don't know. Does that come from the flying spaghetti monster? I don't know.
That would be a lot more delicious communion, I just want to say.
Yeah, and basically I don't care.
Chicken and a biscuit. Chicken and a biscuit with spaghetti.
What I do care about is human freedom, and most religions are against human freedom, and that's where I draw the line. When you start telling people that if you act human, you could be under a death sentence, then it's wrong. It's wrong. And if the dominionist 7 mountain peoples get their way, we in the United States will be under a theocracy, under a Mosaic theocracy.
And I'd like
to
to
resort back to fire. Let's just set everything on fire.
I first want to welcome Dave Hall back to the panel. Dave Hall, my good buddy from Hammer the Gods, thanks for jumping in and helping me out while I have to take another break. But I'm hoping you guys can talk a little bit more about the whole Seven Mountains dominionism thing and just give people a rundown on that and how that potentially affects society and politics and media and, all of the different 7 pillars, if you will.
Well, the whole thing, child indoctrination, if you look at what the right-wing Christian faction is doing right now, they have brought up a generation of children that are politically motivated and dominionism, 7 mountains motivated. This has been their whole plan for the last 30 years, is actually bringing up a generation of lawyers and politicians that are so Christian indoctrinated that that's all that they want. And if you look at Right Wing Watch and places like that, you can actually see the total insanity of what's going on right now. Their anti-gay stance is crazy, totally crazy. And the statements they make, I don't even know why they're allowed to publicly speak. I don't, because they say the craziest stuff. Like a school shooting in that takes several children's lives is because God is mad at homosexuals.
Yeah. Where do they come up with this stuff? That's what I want to know.
And people believe it. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's that kind of stuff, though. You find it in the Bible. Like Pharaoh's like, "All right, I'll let your people go," and God's like, "No, fuck that. Change your mind. I want to just destroy a bunch of crops and animals and babies." Like, it's just such a weird, kind of disconnected idea. But to them, it makes perfect sense that God kills things, innocent things, when we do wrong. What happened when the flood? God regretted what he did, what he created. He regretted humans and decided to flood the entire earth to kill all the animals, all the plant life, and all the people, just because people were bad.
Which means that God is not infallible.
He made a mistake.
Yeah, that's what I also thought too, and it was weird because it was like let us make man in our image. And I thought, well, did we correctly interpret this as a triune God, or is this like a polytheist thing? I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff once you read the Bible, and that's why when they say, well, this is because of the gays and this is because of the gays, I think that's perfectly justified by reading the Bible. It's absolutely justified.
Well, yeah, a lot of murder is justified by reading the. I don't know. I guess there were times when I wished I could stone my kids for for sassing me, but.
Just get them high, stone them a different way, then they'll stop complaining. Here you go, just sit back, smoke this.
There you go.
So I want to jump in here for just a second. Sorry to interrupt you, Robert. I understand Shayra has got to leave the panel because she's got to get to work. Dang real life stuff and our taking away from our destroying of religion and bad things.
And
in
I
the
won't
world.
get to watch any more of the show. I'll be able to watch it later on, but I won't get to watch any more live show because I'll be at work the whole time. So that stinks. But I'll go back and watch and see all the awesome speakers. I've been watching it. I think my favorite part so far of this entire protest has been Lee Lemon. She is absolutely infectious.
Oh, I'm very flattered. Thank you.
So I'm laughing so hard. Daniel and I were in here listening to you talking about chicken and a biscuit, and I was just dying. So.
Oh well, good. I'm glad.
Well,
but I'm just gonna talk about the organizations I work for really quick.
Yes.
We have weareatheism.com. Please go there and tell your deconversion story, or just listen to others so you don't have to feel alone. Also, go to moranfortexas.com. That's MORAN. And donate to an open bisexual atheist in Texas. We need money to get the word out about him because we are up against super powerful, rich, Republicans here, and he has got to be there to back Wendy Davis when she makes governor, so that they can make decisions about your children's curriculum, which Texas does affect your children's curriculum, and many other things that they have to vote on. We have to have someone get Wendy Davis's back, and Daniel's the guy to do it. So please go and send your donations to that, because we need more open atheists in our political realm.
Absolutely. And the
I think
Texas
that's
public
about it.
school system curriculum affects your children's public education no matter where they live in the country, so please keep that in mind. And thank you
Well,
very
and
much.
also Texas comes up with a lot of the curriculum that goes out to all the children in the country.
Yes.
They are one of that school board. That decision is huge. There's a great documentary on it if you want to look it up. It does affect all of the children in the nation. So it's very important that we have people who know what they're doing, who are making laws. So
Indeed.
thank you
Fully
so
agree.
much for having me on. You guys are awesome. And I hope everything goes well with this event, and I hope to be around for next time. So
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Shayla. Have a great
Good
day.
to see you, Shara.
Have a good one at work.
So I interrupted you there, Robert. Did you have something in mind that you wanted to continue on with, or?
I don't know. Where was I?
We were talking about the Dominionists, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 7 mountains things, dominions.
You know, people really have to be aware of this. If they get their way, we'll be under Mosaic law, which, you know, like, I hope you don't cheat on your spouse, but if you do, under Mosaic law, you can be stoned to death. A woman who is raped and doesn't report it can be stoned to death.
Or if she doesn't scream loud enough.
Yeah.
That always amazed me. Like, what if everyone's sleeping?
Right, because
But what if they're all at the party?
and you have
then,
to
like,
to convict the man, you have to have 2 witnesses.
And
Yeah,
the other
that
issue,
doesn't
and
make
the other
sense.
issue is none of these things have been consistent for a long time. So if it's Mosaic law, it's being interpreted by somebody. So if they change things, once you have it, if they decide to change it, you're stuck. That's the problem with the theocracy. That's the problem with it.
yeah, and you were saying, Robert, about killing your kid. You know, like that's, you know, is that going to be okay? Is that not going to be okay? And
Well, see,
I don't know.
That's the problem with any revealed religion. Is because it's always open to later interpretation.
And the problem is,
You know, you look
have
at
to
how many times-
assume that person got it right the first time.
How many times has the Book of Mormon been changed?
Yep.
How many times has the date been changed from the Jehovah's Witnesses to when we're all going to perish?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
It's always open to newer interpretations. Like they're trying to say, "Oh, we're keeping up with the times." No, you're not.
You're just trying to reinterpret something so that it better fits what you already believe anyway.
Absolutely.
Right.
What is it? 88 reasons why Jesus is going to return in 1988. 89 reasons Jesus is going to return in 1989.
Yeah, there you go.
All that fun stuff. Yeah.
There you go. It's just it's ridiculous. I forget the guy's name, but you know he was predicting the end of the world here.
Harold
2
Camping?
years. Yeah, Camping, and he died without seeing the end of the world, or his
It came
world
for
ended.
him. Yeah, it came for him.
Yeah, you
His
know,
end is nigh.
maybe that's what he was seeing in the stars. Or
Yeah,
no,
but
whatever.
he didn't predict the date anywhere near the date where he actually died.
Oh.
So he was even wrong for himself.
Right.
And
Right.
he was, and he was also wrong for several families that gave away everything they owned to say that the end is coming. And yep.
Right.
Yeah, I tried that actually with my parents. My mom is a very fundamentalist Pentecostal, the way that I was raised. She's a Tea Party Republican, and she was really convinced that something was going to happen. And I said, well, you know, I'm an atheist, so.
Sign it all over to me the day after you think it's coming.
Yeah, I was just like,
There you
I
go.
will watch your house and your dog and your money, and I'll just take that off your hands. Don't worry about it. So I'll just, you know. No, I can't give that to you. I'm like, then ye of little faith, Mom.
And to all my Christian friends out there, if you're trying to biblically predict when the end of the world comes,
Matthew something, right?
No
one knows the hour.
There you go. Not even the Son of Man.
Not even. Yep, and I always bring that up. Oh, I know when it's coming, and I say, are you know more than Jesus? No. Well, then blah blah blah. Read your.
There you
Bible.
go.
That's what I always tell them.
You know, I don't know how many times I tell my Christian friends that. Read your Bible.
Read your Bible.
You know, read the Bible as much as I've read the Bible. Then come back and talk to me about it.
Absolutely. Some people ask me, how you know, Lee, you left Christianity. I got a Christian friend, family member, blah, blah, blah. How do I get them to deconvert? What does it for you? I said, just tell them to read their Bible. Tell them to study the Word of God. Let them do it right there.
Yeah, with a big-ass dictionary on the side.
Absolutely. Read the historical context. Read it all. Just read it. It's
a great soundbite, but there is ways to read the Bible that are used over and over again in like Bible study and stuff like that do not help because it hides the contradiction. It covers over the cracks in the story.
Right on.
Don't read your Bible the way that your pastor wants you to read it. Don't read it in little bits and pieces. Don't jump around. Read it front to back, cover to cover. Compare one verse to another. Because when you do that, the cracks become apparent. When you compare each of the Gospels to the other, you start to realize that one tells a different story to another. When you read Genesis from beginning to end, you realize that Genesis 1 tells a different creation story than Genesis 2. If you jump around, you lose that. It's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I tell them to study their Bible and study it. Actually go in there, read the translations, read the different possibilities, study the the history of it. Do that. And that's one thing I found myself saying before both of you gentlemen joined us is that I found myself really apologizing for God's behavior in the Bible. And it was really, it got to the point where it was like an abusive spouse. It was like I was married to this abusive person, and as long as I was good, he wouldn't hurt me, but, you know, I'm just not perfect, so sometimes I get beat, and that's okay, because I deserve it for not being perfect. But then it's even worse than an abusive husband, because he created me to be imperfect, and then he's going to hurt me for being imperfect. And I think once you start thinking about your religion, that's when it really gets to you. It's the idea that why would Jesus come like after a long time? So you got all this time for sacrificing animals, but now Jesus decides to get rid of that because he can't say I forgive you. Like I can say I forgive you. I mean, imagine if your mom felt really bad about something that she did, and she's like, I'll prove that I love you, and then killed herself. Like, what? Mom's crazy. Why would you do that? But that's what we have to expect from Jesus, that he just set up the rule to kill himself. And
to be fair, he didn't actually, like, what is it, John 3:16 gave his only begotten son. He had a bad weekend. It was 3 days.
Yeah.
Right.
He donated this guy for a while.
Yeah. There's a bit of a difference there.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know,
so it's like it wasn't even a sacrifice.
Wouldn't that be not to do to your kids? You know, it's like you're dead for 3 days.
Yeah, and then when he went to hell, and I don't know, the whole thing was it's just kind of weird.
But you know, back to what you were saying, Lee, is God pulled a dirty trick. You know, he gave us free will, and then he gave us the rules.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Some people say that the first sin or something, the first thing we rebelled against God in the Garden of Eden. I say, no, that was the first sting operation. This dude knows exactly what we're going to fucking do, and he fucking does this? Like,
correct.
Ouch.
Correct.
sucks.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yeah, if you really pay attention to what the Bible says about God, according to their beliefs, God knew what was going to happen when he did it
Yeah.
and put the tree of knowledge where it was going to be anyway.
Absolutely. And I
Really
think
think
this,
about that.
and that's what really got to me growing up as a fundamentalist Christian, was that I had to pray. And now there's a lot of different denominations of Christianity, as everybody knows, and we were talking a little bit before about like the difference between Lutherans and Catholics and so forth. And with Pentecostals, it's just pray for forgiveness, change your life, and that's all it takes. And so the problem is, if you keep doing the sin, then that means that you weren't sincere in your asking for forgiveness. So it means that you just keep sinning. And that idea really fucks with you in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and you wonder why you just
cycle of
exactly. And then you wonder how does this work? That I was created sinful, and I'm going to die because of that sin, and I can repent and try to leave it, but I can't leave it because I'm imperfect, because that's how I was created. And that that didn't tell me, oh, this is stupid, this is ridiculous. That told me I am going to hell, and I would cry myself to sleep trying to find some loophole or something somewhere in the Bible that would just help me out about this. And it just sucked. It sucked a lot.
Well, if you would just pray harder, you would have found that loophole, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Would have prayed harder or fasted more. Yeah, that would have been great.
And Christianity isn't alone in that. There's even Scientology has a built-in cycle of guilt. You're told that you are worthless. They break you down and then build you up again. You're dependent upon the belief system.
They do that constantly, though.
Yep.
You know, each time you get to a certain level, you know, you're built up, and then they bust you down again. You know, they do that phony baloney personality test on you every time you've completed a cycle.
Yep.
And well, yeah, you did this. This is great. And then look at this. This is in the pits. So you got to go on to your next action, like right away.
Yep.
And if you don't, your eternity is at risk.
And I don't know, Lee, if you realize the records that the Scientology keeps. That's another whole issue.
No, I don't know the records they keep.
In these audits, where they basically they ask you, what are your crimes, right? What have you done? And they get to know everything about every one of their members. And then what do? They keep it all. Everything is written down. Every time somebody audits somebody else, everything they've said is written down in it. So if you decide to leave Scientology, they know everything you've ever done while you've been a Scientologist, and whatever you've confessed before it as well.
Which, in my mind, is why John Travolta hasn't left.
Yep. How hard would it be to leave if there was an organization that is so bent on keeping people in line that they will sue people into oblivion, that has everything you've ever been embarrassed about, everything you've ever done, everything. Like, just imagine that. Somebody kept a file on everything you knew.
So it's like God, but the file exists. all the confessions that you've ever done, but they actually physically exist.
Everything you've ever said in session is written down, and it's never deleted, it's never destroyed, it's never shredded. They're just waiting to use it on you.
That's just so shitty.
It is.
Wow.
It is, and you know, even if you're absolved your guilt, it's still written down there and waiting for you.
Yeah.
So if you ever decide to leave, not only will they say, well, we're not going to talk to you ever again, but they'll pull out your files and start sending things from your past to people.
In Scientology, if you're excommunicated, what they call declared a suppressive person.
SP.
Yeah, SP, which I am proudly an SP.
Yay!
Not only are you not allowed to go into a Church of Scientology, no Scientologist in good standing, including your relatives, your children, your parents, can ever talk to you again, or they risk being expelled from the church.
Yeah,
Well, they really took a page out of the Jehovah's Witness book there, huh?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, speaking of Jehovah's Witnesses, one thing I wanted to bring up, and it's not in just
Please do.
not in just Jehovah's Witnesses, but a lot of these biblically based cults, is child indoctrination sets the child up for further abuse.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody's brought this up yet today. In the Jehovah's Witnesses main headquarters in New York, they have a database of 27,000 men who have sexually abused children and have never been turned into the authorities.
I have not heard that, and wow.
And how did you find that out?
You can look on YouTube for ex Jehovah's Witness members, and there are case after case after case after case of boys and girls who have been sexually abused by their church superiors.
Now that's actually one thing I was interested in about Scientologists. If they keep the record on everything that you've done, if you've done something that's illegal, something like that, do they report you, or do they just keep that dirt on you?
They won't report you, unless you leave. But
why do people protect child rapists? What is wrong with these people?
Well, see, the church
Useful.
look at because they think in their warped imaginations that if you keep it a secret, it's like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It won't besmirch the name of your holy organization.
See, that was the thing that I had a problem with, that I was talking about earlier with the other people in the panel, is that to me it besmirches your organization by not saying anything, because then someone's going to find it out, and then they're going to say, "Hey, you're a piece of shit. If only I would have said something."
Because,
See,
that's because you're committing the sin of not using your brain as just a play toy.
Yeah, apparently. Oops, I thought this one through.
Yeah, that's the duty of us people who are not in an authoritarian fascist religion or something like that. When when a religion does something awful like that, harmful like that, we have to stand up and make sure that they pay a price for protecting priests and protecting abusers and everything else. We have to make it so that they can't lie to themselves and say, "Oh well, it's better if we hide it." We got to make sure they pay a price for hiding it.
Right, and
I agree.
In cases like the Jehovah's Witnesses and in Scientology, if you actually, as a child, if you actually report, excuse me, to the authorities what happened to you, you will be excommunicated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The fuck?
Yep.
How can they do that? How can? How
because they're allowed to excommunicate anybody they choose.
How can you be a human being and do that to some other human being? That's what I want to know.
There have been cases in Scientology where a child under 10 has been excommunicated and sent off to live with some other relative because the parents can't talk to him anymore.
Oh my God. This is when I come back to set everything on fire. We just start over. We're done.
Yeah, don't you wish? Don't you wish you were done?
Yeah,
no, I don't
these
wish,
assholes.
Actually, but it'd be nice. It would be nice if we could get them. If we could get more people out, so that.
Well, see,
nothing else. Which
You know,
is what
that's why
today
we're
is.
doing
Whose vibrator keeps hitting the table? You guys might want to.
That was mine. I put it in my pocket. Sorry.
There you go.
Woohoo.
Have a little more private fun, okay?
Yeah, it's just a
See,
There
selfie.
was a pastor that made that joke, and I just remembered it. He said, if you got a phone, turn it on vibrate, and then put it deep in your pocket. And he said like something, if you want to have a good time in church, put your phone on vibrate, and then just
Oh,
put
wow.
it deep in your pocket. And that's what he said, and everyone's like, haha, lighthearted fun. And I thought, oh my God, I totally could do that.
yeah. And the pastor's doing what? He's promoting masturbation.
Which, yeah, I tell people I had to become
Which-
an atheist because I'm
which
not
is
an
great.
exhibitionist.
Which is great.
Yeah, if
I
we
don't-
can get a pastor that does that.
But going back to what you were saying, it's like that's the reason we're doing this protest. That's why we're doing this event, is because there are so many people who are not in the know.
Yep.
And even after all the bad press lately on Scientology, all the court cases that are going on right now,
Yep.
there are so many people that don't know the horrors
Yep.
of Scientology and of other religions, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, and especially the fundamentalist Mormons. God.
And the real issue is the children.
The children.
The kids. I know everybody goes on about the kids, but it really is
Somebody
that.
please think of them, yeah.
If you're an adult and you choose to enter a religion and you end up suffering for it, yes, I feel bad for you that you were brainwashed. Yes, I feel bad that you fell for a cult.
Yeah, that sucks.
But at least you had a choice.
Right.
If you born children into a religion and they suffer by the hands of that religion, they didn't even have the choice.
That is your fault. Absolutely.
That's
and
right.
I think a lot of people they seem to think that some of these religions are bad, but then there's some of the religions that are good. And quite frankly, the more that you study them, they're the same. They use fear and guilt.
Yep.
They talk about different kinds of afterlives, whether it's a hell or whether it's a negative reincarnation or whether it's just you die and you don't get to have an afterlife. There's some kind of negative thing that happens after death that nobody can prove. They talk to you about how you're inherently bad. It doesn't matter who you are. People talk about how Buddhism is cool, it's just a philosophy, and Eastern religion, and all this other stuff. It's because they don't deal with that. Like they don't live in it. I live in South Korea. I've done temple stays. There are Buddhist sects that deify the Buddha, so there goes that idea that Buddhism doesn't have a god. But they keep to themselves because that's the idea, is to be karmically neutral, which means you don't do anything bad and you don't do anything good. And people talk about, well, you're supposed to help people and you're supposed to, do all these things. It's kind of hard to do that when your whole day, Buddhism is so selfish.
Yes.
You're on your personal road to enlightenment. You're not here to help anybody. You're not here to make connections. You're not here to have experiences. You're here for your personal journey to enlightenment. And in doing so, you isolate yourself away from the rest of the world. You wake up early in the morning, you do some prayers, you eat some food, you do some farming, you do some prayers, you eat some food, you talk to some your friends, maybe you have like a group of tourists or somebody come through, and then that's it. That's what you do as a Buddhist. That's your whole existence, is just waiting to die, so hopefully you can reach enlightenment at some point. That's ridiculous, and that's what people say is this lovely, peaceful, fantastic religion. These people rape people too. Yeah, exactly. It's so selfish. It's not productive at all. And a lot of Buddhists have a lot of free time, so they're really smart people. But they still have all the same superstitions. You got to pray to the Buddha for wishes that he can grant, aka prayers. There's another one where if you have a painting of the Buddha, then you fold it up and keep it with you. Then it can block gunfire. Like people say about the Bible blocking gunfire kind of thing. I mean, it's the same superstitious crap. It is not anything special. It is not anything philosophical and magical. People talk about Hinduism. Hinduism, I gotta say, that is a piece of fucking shit with that whole reincarnation thing. Oh, let's not help the poor because that's their fault from a past life. Wow, fantastic. Way to absolve yourself from ever doing anything for anybody. Good job. It's their fault from a past life. You fucking assholes. Like, and people talk about, like, oh, Hinduism is peaceful because they're vegetarian. And Buddhism is peaceful because of this. And I just want to just choke them.
Matter of fact,
You know? Hi, Ryan. Welcome back.
They're all their own whole bunch of crazy.
Even worse.
You know what? Everyone's
Hinduism
gonna.
is even worse because they tell you in Hinduism that whatever station you're born in is the one you're going to die in because that's where you are, and you can never reach a higher station. So don't even try.
That's right. You
Just
got to do it, and if
accept.
I help you, then I'm interrupting karma, and so I'm gonna get fucked when I get reincarnated next.
And if you're hungry,
people,
don't you dare kill that cow. You know.
Well, to be fair, it is better to milk the cow to keep a steadier food supply. I guess you can keep beef jerky. One person with beef jerky, that'll last a long ass time.
Yeah.
Wear the cow. Yeah, but I mean that just is from the old cattle cults, which are like that's like the oldest religion is just the cattle cults, you know.
Yeah, I need a steak now and then. Thank you very much.
God, I wish I was drinking a steak and not like those protein shakes that are made out of that beef protein and it's like flavored. Have you seen those? They're like flavored like blue raspberry and fruit punch. Now I don't want to drink fruit punch protein powder, but it's all red and it's beef protein and you're just like this is just like a whole cup of blood. It's just weird.
Yeah, that's kind of nasty.
So we're getting close to the end of an hour. So I don't know if we're 8 minutes or something like that. Jesus. So if I don't know if somebody's going to be coming in. If you have something to plug, Robert, please go ahead.
Yeah.
WorldCultWatch.org, and I'll be posting some good stuff on there. We're watching the Lev Tahor cult right now, which is known as the Jewish Taliban. Up in Canada, a bunch of them got their kids taken away from them. Not sparing the rod, including cattle prods. And I think 26 children have been removed from their families so far.
Fuck. Kids suck. Yeah. I've got to say, I'm a teacher, but I would never do that to a child. Oh my God, what is wrong with these people?
No, it's bad.
Yeah, they're ornery. Yeah, they freak out and they're stupid and they get snot all over the place and they try to touch you. Like, teacher, let me hug you. You're like, fuck this kid.
But
I would never zap him with a cattle prod.
I want people to know that even the religions that have been busted and busted good, and say, okay, now we've changed our ways. That's only for public view. In private, they keep their like the Children of God. I don't know if you know about them. It's a horrible thing. They bring children up to as sexual playthings,
And that's the thing.
That's all you need to say. That's it.
But my religious freedom. I deserve to have kids as sexual playthings.
And that's the horrible thing about religion and religious freedom. And
it's not religious freedom that does that. Religious freedom is the right for you to practice your beliefs. It's not the right for you to cause actions. It's not if you punch somebody because of your religion, it's still you're punching somebody. We have a legitimate right in this society to police actions. You can believe whatever you want. That's religious freedom. You don't get to do whatever you want. That's something society has a right to protect.
Right, and I want the public to know that.
That's a great point, Dave.
Truly, if you believe in freedom of religion, you have to accept freedom from religion.
Absolutely.
I don't see how you could have one without the other. I don't.
Right. You have to accept freedom from religion, and that includes your kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They need to have the freedom to make up their own minds, and to do that, they need to be exposed to more than just your religion.
I think the hardest part, though, is the idea that, I mean, of course I think that religions are very ridiculous. Anybody who's listened to this for any amount of time knows my opinion on that. But when I hear stuff like, for example, that my mom says, or that some people that I think they might have a genuine interest in trying to help my soul or whatever, it's the idea that they honestly believe that I have an eternal soul that is honestly going to go to hell if they don't get through to me. That is the part that's really difficult, because how do you convince a parent to not pass that on to their children? How do you convince a parent that believes that their child could go to hell if they don't indoctrinate them? How do you convince them to not indoctrinate them?
It depends on the person who's doing it, but one way I think it's Matt Dillahunty who I got this from. He basically told his parents, and if I'm mischaracterizing it, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure he said that he basically told his parents, who are Christians, that you believe God created me. You believe that God created me this way. So if your God created me by your own beliefs, then why would he, like, basically putting on God? Don't blame me.
Why would God make me an atheist?
Yep. Don't blame me. If God wanted me to be whatever I wanted to be, then I am whatever I am. So.
And who are you to question God?
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Absolutely. And it's amazing to see.
And then if it's a Christian mother, you can just tell her, well, you don't get to tell me about God.
Yeah, don't you dare start teaching me, lady. Yeah, she did something on Easter. She sent me this message that was just, it was so, can I say Christian aggressive? Because it's not even passive aggressive. It's just like this weird Christian aggressive message.
We understand that.
And yeah, and so she sends. I was like signing into Facebook, just like, hey, you know, how's my niece and nephew? Like, do they enjoy the egg hunt? You know, how fun. And it was just this message, this weird Christian aggressive message. And I said, well, I just want to say thank you so much for being a bad Christian and not killing me when I was disobedient. I just want to thank you for that. Thanks, Mom, for being a bad Christian.
Nice
day. Yeah, I'm going to just stick you right back. Sorry.
It could be difficult to maintain a relationship with somebody who's still a believer when you're not a believer.
Quite frankly, it can be difficult to maintain a relationship with my mom, regardless of her believing status.
Well, there's that too.
That's all I'm gonna say. That. Yeah, I mean, I'm very honest with her. I've got no. I think that part of that is I have no. I understand that she has issues separate from religion, and I just. Because of that, we never really had a relationship. I've told her straight to her face. She asked me why I don't visit. I tell her, I said, you want me to spend $1,500 to visit somebody who's going to treat me like shit, and then I got to come back here? No, that doesn't sound good. You raised me the way you raised me, and then you wonder why we have no relationship. It's okay. Nope. So sometimes it's just completely separate of religion. But religion definitely didn't help, because all the shit that she had, all the shitty parts of her personality, were justified through God. And it didn't matter if I didn't like it. Jesus forgave her. So it doesn't matter if I didn't forgive her. It was really weird.
And I want to point out to any religious viewers who are watching now or in the future, I would like you to understand that we're not just sitting around, you know, bashing religion, making fun of religion. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're discussing is stuff that we used to believe, that we have lived. Yeah. You know, this is stuff that we struggled through and slogged our way out of through, right. You know, critical thinking. And, you know, this is not just happy fun, let's jab at some Christians.
Yeah.
It's like, this is stuff that used to deeply trouble us in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
You know?
And you develop a sense of humor to cope with it.
We were in some cases, we were indoctrinated into this stuff.
You
know?
have to,
Absolutely.
and in a lot of cases, if you don't laugh, you're going to break down and cry and keep on crying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, quite
Absolutely.
frankly, we have a bit of, I think, license to be angry about it. You know?
I'm not angry. I think it's funny to fuck with it. But
Well, it's funny and I have fun, but you know, in some ways, I am absolutely angry that religion stole so much of my life, particularly intellectually and emotionally and psychically,
I will
psychologically.
say, I don't know if I'm angry, but I'm deeply disappointed that I feel like it took so long to just start the rest of my education, all the education that I shut out, you know.
You know, the funny thing is I've been out of the church 18 years now, and I'm angrier now than I was when I first left. You know, because I see the abuses that keep on happening.
Yep.
And
yeah, there's nothing.
And not
like
only in
witnessing-
Scientology.
Yep. There's nothing
Not
like
only in
witnessing bad
Scientology,
things.
but in a lot of these other so-called biblical religions,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and as long as there's abuse, I got to stay angry.
Absolutely.
You don't
I
have
can't
to stay angry,
accept it.
but you're choosing to try and change some things for other people as well, which is good.
Absolutely. And then I started really giving a shit about it when I started noticing my niece and nephew. They keep getting passed off to my mom just to take care of them, you know. And these kids, you know, they didn't really know who I was, which I understood. I'm all the way out here in Korea, and if they talk about somebody who's not there, it's such an abstract concept for these young kids. But they already knew how to sing, like, Jesus Loves Me. And I almost broke down and cried right there when I heard my little niece not even understanding the concept of another human being that's related to her living in another part of the world, because she can't even understand that, and then already being told how to sing a song about something that she can't even extra comprehend. The idea of a creator of all things. What a concept for a child, and she can't even understand that, but she could say God bless you, and my mom sees that as a positive thing, like, oh, look how good and godly she is. It's like a dog. You praise her for saying something correct.
A wind-up doll.
Yeah, and it's sad. And that's when I started really getting kind of in my mom's getting her shit about stuff. That's when I started getting more aggressive with her. Was when I noticed what she was doing to my niece and nephew, and just to sit back and watch that, and to look at her behavior, and I couldn't deal with it, and I said, listen, I don't fucking care anymore about our relationship. I really don't care. I'm an adult. I don't need to deal with your shit. You understand that. We've already talked about this, but you really need to change your behavior, because look what you're doing to these kids. And I think that's I don't know if other people notice that, but just to see that, just to remember my upbringing, and to know that that's how they're going to be raised, and that kills me inside. That makes me want to cry right now. I feel like the feeling coming up, you know.
Well, they have an advantage. They have Aunt Lee that if they ask,
I hope so. I hope so. And you know, I was restricted from the outside world, and now I know why. I always wanted to study abroad. I always wanted to visit other places, and to me, I never would be able to. And leaving my family for the first time when I joined the military, that separated me from them. That introduced me to other worlds and other people and other lives, and it was amazing. And I want, you know, them to at least know that you don't have to stay with the family. You can go out, you can explore, you can do your own thing, and hopefully they'll understand that, or they'll just think that I'm a piece of shit because that's what the family tells them.
Isolation is another one of those common characteristics between so many religions.
Absolutely.
It plays on the authoritarian structure, which is common in so many religions.
Oh, yeah.
I think what it all boils down to, and religious parents need to hear this. What it comes down to is, do you want to raise a decent human being, or do you want to raise a God bot?
See, they would argue. I'm sure they would be screaming at the screen if they were watching right now that I am raising a decent person. But I think the better way to put it is: would you rather teach a kid how to think and make moral decisions that are good, or would you rather just tell them in this situation you do X? Because if a computer program is, you tell it to do, in this situation you do X. But we all know that computers, as soon as you throw something new at it, computers break. They do bad things. They do crazy things. They don't make they don't understand. They stop working. We get the blue screen of death as soon as a computer.
Absolutely.
And if you tell a child in this situation you do X, but you don't tell them why. You don't explain the process of making a moral decision.
Sure.
They run into those situations where they don't know what to do, and they don't have the tools to make a good moral choice.
Absolutely, and it's absolutely terrible.
I think that's what I meant by decent human being is somebody who makes moral choices just for the sake of making moral choices.
Yeah.
And not because of any carrot, stick, punish, reward system.
Absolutely.
They're not following a program. Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And that's a free thinker.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
And the important point is that the goal is the same. You're trying to raise a kid to be good. We're just disagreeing on how to teach a kid to be good. So I don't have a problem with parents telling their kid, hey, in our religion it says to do X when you run into this, but have the confidence and trust in your children that they are good people to tell them why. Tell them how to make that choice. Tell them, say, okay, if you're gonna make a moral choice, you can look to religion, you can look to your reason, you can look to evidence, and make up your own mind.
Or you can look at history and see what happened to people who didn't make that choice.
Yeah.
I hate even including religion in that, but they're going to anyway. So at least let them use their own mind as well. Don't tell them ignore what you want to do and just obey. That's just ugh.
But the problem is, if you don't tell them that, then the whole religion goes away. That is religion. In fact, I've heard people boil down the Bible to one. They say it's just one word. It means obey. That's the whole Bible, and they are completely right. It's even when God changes the rules, you still got to go with it, And and you have to still believe that He doesn't change the rules and that He's infallible and you just gotta just deal with it.
But slavery used to be okay, but it's not anymore.
Oh, but it still is, because it's not really slavery. It's what was it, indentured servants? That's what people say now, even though they have absolutely no facts to back it up.
Oh, you mean like a Christian marriage?
Yeah, shit. Indentured servitude, definitely.
And yeah, you can if you're talking to a believer, you can get around that by saying, what does the Bible say about owning another person as property? Because you can call it whatever you want. You can call it indentured servitude. You can call it different slavery.
That's right. The Bible actually says that person is your property. You can do this with them because they are your property.
You can beat them as long as they don't die within 3 days. You're good.
That's right. You can beat them to death as long as that death happens a little bit later. Yep. That's all it takes. I'm gonna take this time to hop out. I think I've had 2 surgeries in 3 weeks, and the last one was like 2 days ago. Yeah, so I'm pretty tired. Just body's recovering, and I got medicine, and it's like 3 in the morning. I know, all these excuses.
Oh, no.
Piece of shit, Lee.
I'm so pleased you joined us, Lee. It has immensely made this whole event better.
You flatter me, sir. I've been really appreciating it, and then it sucked because, you know, Robert and Dave jump in. They're like, Scientology. I'm like, wow, cool, extra stuff to learn. Because I'm really interested in religion and mythology, which is like the same thing, as just a thing. Like, I watch documentaries. I'm interested in different things in science and different things about the body, and also mythology. It's just one of my topics that I enjoy. And just being able to talk about it with other people, it's really interesting. Being able to talk about like a history of it and what it's like to be raised in that, and then to have people understand that, that's really interesting. A lot of people here in Korea, they don't get that. They weren't raised religious, and they don't understand how anyone can believe in God, how anyone can believe in faith healing, how anybody can believe any of this stuff. They have no idea how that happens. They just don't believe it, which is good. That's a good thing to remember.
So plug your YouTube channel, because not only is it a good atheist channel, but it's also drinking in North Korea, and it's awesome.
South Korea.
Sorry, it's
Korea.
Yeah,
it's
dear leader.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just youtube.com/Lee Lemon, but the O is a 0. If you type in Lee Lemon atheist, a lot of people will find that. It's not an atheist channel, but a lot of people think it is. It's got a bunch of stuff like you know, like the drinking, eating different stuff like pig assholes, eating dog, eating spider, tuna face. I got a whole thing on that. That was a lot of fun.
You do cover some atheist stuff, though.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's actually a lot of atheist videos, a lot of atheist and religious videos. It's just mostly a Q&A channel, and a lot of people ask questions mostly about atheism and theism, so that's what happens. But if you guys have questions about the military, or the military as a woman, I've been doing some videos with that lately. Any questions about what it's like to live in Korea, stuff about working out, how to improve your run time, or increase your muscle mass or something, then just go ahead.
So are you back in the gym already?
No. Since it's an upper body surgery, I've been doing a lot of squats. So that's reps for Jesus. That's what I got going on. And it's, yeah, these legs are just fucking, like, just tree trunks coming down here. So it's nice. Getting nice and solid, giving me some time to really focus on lower body. I've never been one to skip leg day, but I've always kept it kind of like a 1 day a week sort of thing. And it's now it's like every other day.
I was glad to see you were on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on the show. I was really happy to be here, even though I couldn't host since I don't have a computer to do that with. But I'm glad to be here. So yeah, that's what I got. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube. It's just Lee Lemon. If you find Lee Lemon, then there's that. That's just all you gotta look for. I come up before the Futurama Lee Lemon now. So if you look for me, yeah, that happens. So if you look for me on Google, I've come up before the Futurama reference for my screen name is taken from. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, I guess that's it. Is there any questions or anything for me in the chat before I go?
Let me take a quick look. I know you were getting some praise earlier, so let me backtrack a little bit and give you the love from the audience.
I don't want the love, I want the questions.
Let's see. Questions. You want questions?
You got any questions? Not just for me, but just like any questions in general. I like questions. I like answers.
I'm not seeing a question mark, so this could be a question or a statement, and it's not directly addressed to you.
Okay.
But Beth H is saying, but you can drink the urine for cancer prevention. I thought it would be funner with a question mark, so
Oh yeah, we were talking about cancer, and like, oh, you got. Remember we were talking about that? Oh shit.
No, you're good. Oh, I guess she dropped out.
Hello.
So we just have a new guest joining us here, and we passed the top of the hour, so I'll if you're getting your lower third set up, go ahead and do that. And I just wanted to remind everybody, if you're just joining us, that you have just tuned into the 3rd Annual International Day of Protest Against Hereditary Religion. We are going on, what hour? How many hours has it been? It is coming up on like 20-something. It's 19. It's been a long time. I've been a long time here, yes. But we're still going good. I'm dying.
You are dying.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just jumped back in because it died. It got cancer.
That's okay.
Yeah, and I couldn't pour urine on my phone quick enough. So
Okay.
there was that. Yeah, it was
Happens.
just, that's how it happens. Anyway, now I'm running away because I saw that Fela was coming in, and I got this, I'm racist, so I gotta go.
No.
No, not a
It's good to
laugh.
s-
Oh, didn't get a laugh. Uh-oh. I made an enemy for life. On that note,
It's good to see
we're
you.
gonna
Lee.
bounce. Alright,
Thank
bye,
you,
guys.
Lee. We'll see ya.
Alrighty. Shit. I'm running away.
Don't worry. I got your back. We know it was a joke.
He was freezing up over there a little bit on my end, but I just want to remind everybody again, this is the 3rd Annual International Day of Protest Against Hereditary Religion, and as you can see, we are having a blast. So welcome, and it's going to be another less than 6 hours now. We are 3/4 of the way through the protest, and we are still banging away with some awesome guests. On the panel currently, we have Robert Robinson, who is from www.worldcultwatch.org. I have not checked it out yet, to be honest with you, Robert, but I plan on doing it because it sounds like you've got some interesting work going on over there.
I exposed a lot of disturbing stuff, but it's stuff that people need to see.
It sounds like it. Just from what you've said in the last hour and a half or so, it sounds like you're into some pretty interesting things. So I'll definitely be looking into that and checking that out.
Hello.
And I also
I want to take this opportunity to thank the people that invited me here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and go to the grocery store, and then I'll listen to the rest of the protest.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much for joining us, Robert. You have a great day wherever you are.
Very
All
nice to
right.
meet you, Robert.
Thanks, Dave.
And so we would like the microphone icon with be red with a slash over it. Just give that a click. There you go. Did I get you correct?
Yes, you did.
Excellent. And now that you're in, just please tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do at worldcultwatch.org.
Worldcultwatch.org is it's my blog site where I expose abusive religions, and the more abusive religions I expose, the more I find. So I guess I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. My personal background is Scientology, and that's where I got into the fight against cults. I joined as an adult, so there was no childhood indoctrination on my part, but I saw a lot of it. My childhood indoctrination was in the Lutheran Church, and it wasn't so bad in the part of the Lutheran Church that I was in, which was the American Synod. It wasn't bad. However, when I was in the 6th grade, I was sent to a Lutheran school, which was Missouri Synod, and they took spare the rod, spoil the child to a higher degree. So I've always been quasi non-religious, except for my 8-year stint in Scientology. I now call myself a spiritual humanist, which means I don't care what religion you belong to, as long as it doesn't injure children or subjugate women or propose murder. My personal belief is that whatever religion you belong to, if we don't start taking care of our brothers and sisters here on this planet and our Mother Earth, we're not going to make it to Armageddon.
And came to mind, I wonder, in conversations like this, I wasn't sure if it was intentional or an oversight. You didn't mention things like marriage equality and LGBT equality. Is that something also included in your position, or where's your stance on that?
Oh yes, I have friends that are gay, and a cousin that I care about a lot, who spent a good deal of their lives. I was looking for a job, and I saw an ad for a bookseller, and I found out it was Dianetics, and I said, well, I could probably do that, and I ended up being a really good bookseller. And I read through the Dianetics book, and at the time, there was some stuff that made some sense to me. Like, I really do want a world without war. You know, that would be like really great. You know, and at the time, before I did a lot of homework, I found out that, you know, man's warlike behavior was caused by, you know, his past upsets with whatever, you know, and so I became good at that, and I went on staff, and I ended up being the executive director of the Las Vegas organization. So yeah, I was in for almost 8 years, and some they tried some heavy brainwashing techniques on me towards the end, and it backfired, and I left.
Can you describe some of what you refer to as brainwashing techniques? Can you describe some of those techniques? Secularwoman.org. It's been a truly pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a great day and a great week.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. And I want to just take this opportunity to remind everyone that if you're just joining us, you are watching the 3rd Annual International Day of Protest Against Hereditary Religion. I'm Ryan Burkhart from Hammer the Gods, and we've got an interesting panel on right now. We just have a new guest joining us. I think Lee Lemon will probably be back momentarily. Currently, we're discussing with Shira, I'm sorry, I'm tired, Shira Akers, though always wonderful, from weareatheism.com. I'm sorry?
You need more caffeine.
I think I'm kind of like overdosing on caffeine. I'm starting to see stars.
No such thing. Seeing demons.
It is Jesus. I'm infected by Jesus juice or something. But also we have on the panel currently Lee Lemon, video blogger, all-around cool person. Thank you very much for hanging out with us and helping out with the show, Lee. And we'd like to welcome the new guest for the moment, Mr. Robert Robertson of, I'm sorry, I'm having a bit trouble hearing, worldcultwatch.org. Is that correct, Robert? And you may be muted if you hover over your image there, and up at the top you'll see a little mic.
In abject misery, some of them to the point of suicide, because they were not accepted by anyone. I grew up in a time where you didn't talk about homosexuality at all. And people who were gay were just, they were automatically outcast. And because, see, like, I was born in '52, and back then it was any kind of, quote, unsocial behavior, unquote, was taken as horrible, because there was a large Christian population.
And can I ask you, about your time with Scientology. How long were you with Scientology, and what was your experiences with that?
And how did you get into it? That's what I'm also curious about. Did you leave religion because you said you were quasi-religious, and then you got into Scientology, or was there like a big gap between that, or just I'm pretty
Good
curious
question.
about that too.
Yeah, good question.
Oh yeah, I got into Scientology in my late 30s, and